Joining us in studio right now, a Republican candidate for U.S. Congress in District 19, Jason Corley. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For folks who maybe they don't know much about yourself, tell folks a little bit about you and why you decided to jump into this race.
Well, okay, like a lot of people in this community, I listen to talk radio. I'll hear what's going on in Washington. I get mad and I turn it off, and I just got fed up with doing nothing about it. I mean, it's time to do something. I'm 32 years old. I'm married. I've got two kids. Dylan's 9 and Quinn's 3 years old. I'm trying to raise children in this future that we're making right now, and every which way I look, our government's doing something that doesn't work in their favor. That's really what motivated me to run. When I heard Randy Neugebauer was going to go ahead and retire, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna step in there and do something. We need somebody that's just one of us to get up there and run, a regular person. That's why I'm asking everybody to quit voting for the men in suits and start voting for the man in the steel-toed boots.
Visiting with Jason Corley in studio. As you've gone around to the different counties and you've spoken with a lot of folks out there, what are you hearing from people about their concerns for Washington, D.C.?
Well, we're fed up and we're tired of it. We're tired of the establishment Republicans getting in there and doing nothing. I expect a Democrat to vote like a Democrat, but I don't expect a Republican to vote that way. These guys made us a lot of promises and then went to Washington and didn't own up to them. That's what we're all fed up with. I mean, look at our presidential contenders. You've got two of them have never done anything politically before, and one is a first term senator. We're tired of this. It's time for real conservatives in the party to step up and stop allowing us to just compromise on everything. We're watching our country being dragged as far to the left as it can possibly go. And how long until it breaks? It's time we start pulling things back to the right.
What are some of the things that with Congressman Neugebauer, you look at his voting record? Overall, most people would say pretty good voting record, pretty solid Republican there. What are some of the specific votes or specific things that you would have done differently if you were in that office?
One thing in particular, and it's always the big one, is the Farm Bill. When we took cotton off of the direct payment list, we threw cotton under the bus, and we did it for the benefit of the World Trade Organization, not the American farmer. We never should have gone along with that. Something I'd called their office several times about was getting rid of country of origin labeling on beef, chicken, and pork. That was done over a lawsuit through the World Trade Organization from a hog farmer out of Canada. Hog farmers out of Canada do not have a representative in Congress. They shouldn't even be a consideration. To me that was just ridiculous. I think I've got a right to know where what I'm eating, where it came from, when I go to the grocery store.
Are there any other areas where you would have done something differently than Randy Neugebauer?
My only qualm with Randy would just be I just wish he'd been more, just been louder, just been out front more, getting in front of the media more. When he made that comment about a bill being a baby killer, I was like, hey, that's my congressman. Thanks for standing up for that. I appreciate that. He got out there and said something. That's the key right there. He's one guy out of 435 people. I understand he can't control every vote. I get that. We all do. I don't expect my congressman to win every battle. I expect him to show up to every fight and put up a good fight.
Is that something that you think, when you travel around and you've been visiting with voters out there, is that something they want in their next congressman, as someone who will be more vocal, will be more of a fighter in D.C.?
Oh, definitely. That's what we all want. It's when you watch something that doesn't go your way, it's just disgusting to think that the person representing you didn't try or didn't put up a fight or you never heard anything, you never saw anything. But, if your congressman has to come back home to you and say, hey, you know what, I didn't win, but man, I tried. I can take that. I can live with that. I just want to know whoever represents me is fighting for me.
The last spending bill, the omnibus bill that was passed, what did you think about that, and how would you have voted?
I would have voted against it. If you have to shut down the government, there's some things that are definitely worth doing that. And everybody tries to scream about shutting down the government. They only close down 15% of it. It's not the end of the world. But that was something, we're gonna get up to $19.5 trillion in debt that we're just going to dump off on the backs of our children. How does anybody vote yes to this? Mm-hmm. That's got to stop. We need a balanced budget amendment.
What are some of the things that, because you just said that there are some things that are worth shutting down the government. So in your mind, what are some of those things?
Planned Parenthood, defunding Planned Parenthood. The omnibus bill was their chance to make a stand on that, and we should have done it. We should have put a stop to it right then and there. I mean, that's when we had the chance. You had Democrats coming out of that vote like, "Wow, we can't believe it. We got everything we asked for and then some." That should have been the case. Shouldn't have been the case. There should have been a lot more give and take on that. There should have been a lot more things that gone in our favor.
We're visiting with Jason Corley, running for U.S. Congress District at 19. Yesterday, I had another candidate in studio, and we talked about subsidies, because I thought this was a pretty interesting part of the Faith and Family Forum that we had, was the discussion over subsidies and what each candidate would do about subsidies. In your opinion, and you're talking more about ag than I think some of the other candidates are in this race. So as far as subsidies go, where do you come down on the issue of subsidies?
We need to go back to subsidizing the American farmer. I'm all for fair trade, but it's got to be on a fair playing field. We don't have that. The argument on subsidies, okay, first off, we need to stop scapegoating the American farmer. Every industry is subsidized. I also work in the oil field, and we have something out there called non-tangible drilling expenses. This is where you can write off 50% of the money you invest to try to drill a well. That's a subsidy. The student loan program, that through our children, that directly subsidizes universities. Every industry in America is subsidized. We need to quit scapegoating the American farmer. And that goes all the way back to the World Trade Organization. These deals that we've made, they're completely unfair. China's subsidizing their farmers to anywhere from between 85 cents to $1.40. $1.47 is what I've heard. How can our farmer compete with that? We're dealing with their tariffs. We can't import or export into their countries without having to pay money to do so. But we allow their products to come streaming into this country. Carte blanche, no problem. Just go right ahead. And we don't say anything about it. Our representatives need to be sticking up for us in those trade deals, not every other country in the world.
Are there other things, because you just mentioned everyone gets subsidies, or every sector gets subsidies out there. Should there be a line drawn that says, okay, we shouldn't subsidize this, we shouldn't subsidize that, or should we get better legislation, better laws on the books maybe, or compete differently in the world to where we don't have to have subsidies and don't have to spend all this money?
Well, we need to go back to our trade deals. If we could get ourselves onto a fair playing field with other countries, we wouldn't have had all these subsidies. We wouldn't need all these subsidies. Congress has got to do more things to, I don't expect government to help build businesses. I expect government not to limit our ability to build businesses. All the cotton that we raise in this country, we sell it straight to China, and they've got a 3-year backlog on their warehouses. They're not in any need for it. They can control the price of it. The reason it all goes over there is years ago, through our corporate tax rates, we lost all of our manufacturing for textiles. Go down to Post Old Mill Trade Days. That was a cotton textile mill. Go up to Littlefield. That one shut down a year or two ago. We've run out these industries because we charge it. We go as high as 34% on our corporate tax rate, and then we wonder why these big corporations leave.
Visiting with Jason Corley, candidate District 19 for Congress. We'll take the break. When we come back, we'll talk immigration, other domestic and international issues as well. If you have a question, feel free to send it in via the KFYO text line, 806-680-2790, or email me, Chad at KFYO.com. We'll try to get to those questions when possible. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. So we continue to take a look at the candidates for Texas 19. Jason Corley in studio, candidate for Congress in Texas 19. Jason, we had a drive-by caller, and this is a pretty good question here. Your thoughts on, and I'll expand this a little bit, but Speaker Boehner, but also I'll throw Speaker Ryan in there, and whether or not you would have supported those two speakers like Neugebauer did, or which maybe your ideal speaker.
I want to see a Ted Cruz style candidate get up there, somebody that's willing to stand up there and toe the line for what conservative values are. I'd like to see a Ted Cruz up there, that style of candidate, to get into that position. There's a lot to be made for compromising and working with people, but you can't just give it all away. And that's what Boehner did the entire time. He just went along with everything that the Obama administration wanted to do. They should have been pushing back, digging their heels in on things that you're like, hey, this is absolutely bad for the country. That's when we do need to be jumping up and down, stomping our feet and beating on the podium and saying, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go down that road with you.
What do you think? And it's pretty early on into Ryan's speakership, I would say. And a lot of the stuff that happened at the end of last year, I think you can make the argument that a lot of it was handed off from Boehner to Ryan. It was already a done deal. But do you have an opinion on how Ryan has done yet? Do you you think he's going to be okay, or how would you have voted for Ryan?
I would have voted against him. Just looking back at some of his past stuff, I know he seems like too much of a centralist for me, and that's not what we need. We've got to start pulling back to the right. We've got to be willing to pull the reins in on President. We should have been pulling the reins in on President Obama a long time ago. Just the things that these guys have been able to get away with this administration is just unreal. They should have been slowing that down. They should have gotten in there and just dug in their heels on so many of those issues. And I know a lot of that stuff. Yeah, it got handed off to him from Boehner, but you're still the man in charge now. Yeah, you can say, okay, no, this isn't going to work. We're throwing this out. We got rid of this guy for a reason. We're not going to keep running his playbook. You get a brand new coach over here at Texas Tech University. Cliff Kingsbury didn't walk in and say, hey, give me Tuberville's playbook. I'm just going to keep running that. That's been working. No, he came in, started from scratch, and took him a couple years to get the team back to where it needs to be. But now they're back where they're at. He had to change directions to get going in the right direction. That's what we should have done with this country. In
your mind, do you think there's anything Ryan can do to win you over?
Go back to voting like a conservative. Let's get back. Let's remember who we are and where we came from, and go back to doing that. Just start doing the job. Go back to leading the party that you were placed in that speaker position to lead.
Visiting with Jason Corley, candidate for District 19 Congress. Let's talk about immigration. Obviously, a very important issue out there. If the next president came to you, or next speaker came to you and said, "Give me your ideas. We're going to run with your idea to fix the immigration system," what's your ideas?
Okay, for starters, right off the bat, build the fence on the southern border. We've got to get that under control. It leaks like a sieve, and it's not just people coming over here looking for a better life. We've got ISIS, we've got Al Qaeda, we've got drug cartels that are running through here. Working in the oil field and working along the Texas border, that's a dangerous place to be for anybody and everybody that lives there. We need to be protecting, our own citizens. That's got to stop. Local law enforcement's not necessarily prepared to deal with that kind of a threat. We need something far better than that. Better arm our border patrol. Get them a physical barrier to stand behind. I've heard people say, "Hey, look, fences don't, and walls haven't worked for 2,000 years." But if you had to take a rifle and get down behind something, you'd want to be in a foxhole. You'd want a physical barrier between you and whoever you're fighting. Now, back to the people that want to come to this country for a better life. We used to have something called the Bersario program. Years ago, if you wanted to work in the United States, you could go to one of our offices. They were in Mexico. It was for Mexican citizens that wanted to work in the United States. They got all your papers taken care of, and they bus people all over the country to work and then go back home. Our visa system, we've got to re-examine that. A lot of people seem to forget, 9/11 hijackers came here legally on visas. San Bernardino, that woman who came over here with a fiancé visa. They got here, they went through the system. There's not a good way to vet these people. There's just not. We've got to come up with something better than what we've got now, and be able to know where people are when they come to our country, where they're at all times. And we did it years before. We can do it again.
What do you do with the 12 million to 20 million, how many million illegal immigrants are in the country? What do you do there? Okay,
if we have criminal illegal aliens, we need to stop this catch and release policy. This is not the Bill Dance fishing show. These guys need to be either we're going to put them in our prisons and send the bill to Mexico. Work that into our trade deals. If we've got the ones that are coming in from across our southern border, the ones that we have that are flying in from other countries, let's do the same with them as well. All right, if you're here illegally and you're committing crimes, you're going to be subject to our laws, and we're going to send the bill to your country. Back to working things out with the World Trade Organization. That would fix a lot of it. Okay, anybody that's here, if you're here and you want to make a better life for yourself, great. Okay, that's why all of our ancestors came to this country. Let's do a 6-month period to where go down, get your paperwork filed, get everything in place, and not instant citizenship. That's not the way to do that. But a lot of these people moved over here. They've already established families. They're established within our community, and they're here and they're working. Go ahead and get them set up so where they can continue to do so.
Visiting with Jason Corley in studio. So you go down the path of if you're here, and I don't want to say path to citizenship, but if you're here and you haven't broken any laws other than you're here illegally, we're not just going to toss you out of the country. Well,
yes, I am, and here's why. Look at our meatpacking plant industry. Go up to, remember Cactus? Do you remember if anybody remembers that when they went in and raided, and there was 300 illegal workers there. Those people were up here. They were you start finding out, hey, these people were attracted here. They were bussed here. Yes, did they break the law when they came to this country? That's true, they did. However, there is an entire industry set up, and to run people into this country. Usually on the border, we always call them the coyotes. These guys would charge anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 to bring somebody into this country. You've got an entire industry designed and set up to bring people into this country and to exploit labor. That's bad for the American worker. It's bad for the people being exploited as well. So you're kind of we're blaming the person at the end of the crime here. We're not going after the big players in it, the ones that are causing all this. That's like when cops pick up a drug dealer. They grab some guy off the street that they catch, selling, a couple of joints or something like that. They don't want to lock this guy away and put him in for 10 years. They want him to turn on whoever he's buying from. They go up the chain. They go after the big supplier of it. Illegal immigration in this country is a big industry. We need to be going to the head of that and chopping the head off of that snake.
Visiting with Jason Corley, candidate for Congress, had an email that came in. Why did you choose to jump in for your first political outing and run for Congress?
Well, there's two kinds of people in this world, and if you want to see that, go to the pool. Some people walk over and they dip their toe into it and just to see how cold the water is. Me, I know the water's cold. I just run and jump in with both feet. I've done that with everything I've ever gotten into. I mean, if you're going to do something, go 100%. If you want to make a difference, go where the problem is, and that's Washington, D.C.
Do you think that during this experience, running for Congress, has there been anyone who said, you're too young. Come on, give me a break, you're too young. Has anyone said that?
Only my mother. Honestly, only Mom. She said, well, it's usually old people who do that. I was like, well, yeah, but look who's doing it. Look what we're getting. We've elected a bunch of rich old farts to Congress, and look what they've done to our country. It's time to my generation. We need to step up to the plate. We've got to get politically involved. It's time for us to do something.
I'm with you. Jason, thanks for coming in today. Tell folks where they can find out more about you.
You can go to the website. It's Corley for Congress. CorleyForCongress.com. You can also go to the Facebook page, Corley for Congress as well. And my cell phone's number's on there. If you have any questions, give me a call.
Look at that. He gives you a cell phone number. Not a lot of people running for Congress will do that. You're a brave person.
Our elected officials need to be accessible.
There you go. Jason, thanks for coming by.